Since 2014, BJP has been breaking new grounds. The party has launched in all digital online campaigns since yesterday. Mr. Amit Shah is saying it's not for elections.
To reaching out to people, creating WhatsApp groups, spreading information about the current situation, the different schemes of the government. This is it's an innovation.
Why BJP is shying away from calling it a political rally?
After all, political people and political leaders do interact. So from that perspective, everything is political.
Do you think there would be any impact of pandemic on Indian politics? Will there be more conversation about health spending? Digital education, there is a digital divide.
I'm not sure if there's a digital divide. So the discourse is not about will it happen, the discourse is happening.
I will now take you to COVID-19 and the issues related to that. The largest COVID-19 lockdown happened in India, biggest ever, the lockdown in the world. India was very quick to close its international borders, enforce the lockdown. WHO praised India for its very tough, what it called as tough and timely decision. The Prime Minister said in his first speech that, in the second speech actually, he said, the 21 days are required to break the chain of transmission. But what seems to have happened is, it got extended, there are 3 extensions, and now are in phase of unlocking 1.0. But the virus seemed to be nowhere in control. It's actually only raging. Actually, as we entered unlock 1.0, today it has crossed 2.56. Every day the new cases are coming. So how do you read the situation now?
First of all, trust the opposition parties to spread lies or speak untruths or distort facts. No one ever said that it's going to disappear. They keep quoting one particular doctor, but he also says that the entire discussion was taken out of context and twisted. That's what I read somewhere in the media. But the fact of the matter is, isn't India having one of the highest recovery rates, some 48, 49%? Isn't the mortality rate one of the lowest? Now it's a virus. It's just not visible to the naked eye. Even on an electron microscope, it takes a lot of effort to see a virus such as this. I read somewhere about a month ago that the total amount of virus in the world at that time, which would have been assumed to have brought the world at its knees in that sense, looking at what was happening in the West, was about 1 gram. I saw it on Twitter. I don't know how far that's true, but it just tells you in terms of how impactful the virus is as a small microorganism. But we've also prepared. We've also known what to do in terms of social distancing, the call of it, but in terms of personal protection, in terms of in terms of standard operating procedure, and realizing that it doesn't kill everybody. So there are enough learnings from it, and that's exactly how we have to move.
The major problem is that we are not seeing a declining trend. See what happened in other countries after 40 days of stringent lockdown in many countries. I'm quoting Randeep Guleria, AIMS director. He said that, it actually went down. But in our case, when we have loosened up at a time in the pandemic, we don't even know whether it has peaked. So it's still some time to go. That's what it looks like.
You can't. I'm the wrong person to ask this. You'll have to ask an epidemiologist or a doctor, because this really would fall into that realm.
No, true that. What I'm asking is, as a political party, obviously you would be concerned.
I'm not challenging the fact that you're asking this question. I'm merely telling you I'm not the right person to answer it in terms of whether it's peaked out, whether it's the correct thing, because what I read, and I read it only what experts speak, is recovery rate is very high, the death rate is very low, and the ventilator requirement is extremely low. So these are important factors to bear in mind.
I'll take you to the other issue. You see, BJP is a grassroots party, takes pride in itself as a grassroots party, and it has a large network. Its mother organization, RS, has a very wide network. And it is connected to the ground. No one disputes that. But despite all this, what happened? Why, there is such a large migrant force in India, which they are in the non-organized sector. Why there could be no anticipation that there will be huge distress after lockdown? Because after all, these people earn their livelihood on a daily basis and they survive on the basis of that. So this entire thing of, it seems it was missed. Why was that?
we need to bear in mind that that was very painful to see some of those visuals. But while that was one reality, the other reality also is a lot of fake news and instigation took place. And that's criminal. These are human beings with families. You don't, in a city like Delhi, spread a message and run DTC buses that please, there are buses waiting for you at the Ghazipur, what you call border point for you to travel. It's not done. I mean, people congregated. Is that not a risk? Tablighi Jamaat was one incident that really, in the first phase, spread and became a super spreader. But let's go further. In Mumbai, there was congregation multiple times. Now, in many states, people stayed back. And state governments reached out to try, like in Karnataka, state government transferred money into the accounts for construction workers. Trains, of course, eventually came, but the other day I was in the Supreme Court in a hearing, and all states are working. I'm not putting the blame anywhere, but at that time, Maharashtra government had no requirement of trains. So I'm also simultaneously looking at another factor. Are we doing a lot of guessworks to make a story? And I'm not saying about the media, but I'm saying about people because I hear all sorts of figures. I sit with political parties like the Congress and their spokespersons. Their figures sometimes are identical, but there's no basis for them to explain how they came to that. So it makes me wonder whether a media cell is giving them figures to go out on TV and say 12 crore people have lost their jobs. I mean, where is that data come? And being a lawyer, I like to approach things from a data factual perspective. And here there's no data being shared. So, I mean, are we also fear mongering? Are we also instigating, therefore, fear and leading to decisions? So, there are going to be so many learnings at every level because of the pandemic.
But one particular issue is that, uh, it took nearly 50 days before the trains were actually started running. There seems a lot of time was spent discussing with the states or whether the states agreed, not agreed. This took a lot of time. The actual trains we started running was from May 1. And therefore it further exacerbated the whole problem for the migrants.
Let me answer this. The train is merely a mechanism to carry migrant labor from a sending state to a receiving state. So it provides the movement. The decision has to be between the sending state and the receiving state. And that has been the point throughout. There may be people in the sending state who may wish to send migrants, but at the receiving state, there has to be facilities in terms of quarantine centers for them to accept that, yes, send them now. So, broadly speaking, and I'm not trying to create a game, it's merely easy to say, let's hold the center responsible. And that's what many political parties do. But then the question that also needs to be asked, why were migrants leaving from some states so much, not from other states? I mean, that means state governments could have reached out. These are people who have left their homes to build the economy in a certain state, which contributes to the national GDP. I mean, in that period of 30 days or 90, 60 days, it wasn't possible to take care of our brother citizens. So there are multiple layers to this story. Oh, there's a certain segment politically, socially, that always builds a narrative that is an anti-BJP narrative. Yes, the constitution gives them their right, but having a narrative does not mean the narrative is founded on facts or the narrative is correct.
Okay, I'll ask you one last question about the COVID thing. You see this economic package announced by the government, uh, the COVID-related economic package, 20 lakh crores. Uh, but the way it's been done, it's the five packages the finance minister announced one by one each day. But it's more about credit lines, moratoriums, reforms. Some of them are long term, which will take some time to trickle down. But very little of immediate relief, which actually the opposition has been asking some kind of a cash relief and those kinds of things. Uh, I can understand that some of these decisions, like seeking disinvestment, opening up new areas, like space, giving that facility to private sector, these are all long-term decisions. Agriculture, APMC opening up, market. But as a political party, don't you think that you also needed some decisions which may immediately give relief to people?
I had the opportunity of interviewing the finance minister. That was another new thing that the party did. Interview
Oh,
for the frontline ministers. And if you wish, I can share that link with you and you can post it further.
yeah, sure. That's interesting. Yeah.
And send that to you. And in that, I'd also ask this question. We need to look at it at two or three perspectives. Number one is we need to bear in mind that this was not a fiscal package, not completely a fiscal package. The fiscal part was about 1% of GDP. The rest was in terms of loans and in terms of liquidity, which is about 8 lakh crores. Then beyond that, there was an issue in terms of reforms, which is another 4-5% of GDP. Total is 20 lakh crores. Now, you can make an apple to apple comparison, as the finance minister, Ms. Sitaraman, said. These are comparative to how other countries have also dealt with it. It wasn't a full fiscal package, and here the most needy amounts 2 lakh crores approximately went into the bank accounts of the poorest of the poor. These are the bank accounts that Modi's government was criticized. Money has gone into the account of the most needy. Liquidity is a factor, it's gone for the other. And reform is about building this from local to global. This is not an isolationist. This is a fundamental transformative decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.